Hey, how's it going? Today is 7th of June, Friday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities we can find today. Since Friday, let's take a look at let's try to understand a little bit of the history. I don't know this part, so I thought might as well while I'm reading it, or might as well perhaps others would like to know a little bit more about that as well. That would be the red flag act. So I don't know what that is actually. I don't know. But let's try to understand it in the realm of legal history. The story of the 19th century red flag act holds profound lessons for every involving interactions of law and technology. So I haven't read this article, so I thought it might be fun. I have read bits and pieces of different articles, not this one. As the Industrial Revolution gained momentum, the advent of the automotive era sent seismic ripples throughout traditional industries. In order to protect the existing industries like state coaches and trains, the United Kingdom made series of laws between 1861 and 1878. The most famous of these was the Locomotive Act on 1865, known as the Red Flags Act, because it has some unusual rules which serve as a crushing blow to early automobile industry, right? So it's something I'm interested in understanding everything what was happening, right? So okay, so perhaps again, more than likely, entire law and everything what was published, it will be very complex, right? So and this article perhaps is just summary of everything what was happening, right? And so they potentially had buses and trains and government and all perhaps different businesses was interested in introducing automotive and all vehicles on the roads. So let's delve deep and try to understand what was happening at the time. Birth of Red Flag Act in the mid 19th century. State coaches and particularly locomotive industries found themselves on uncertain grounds, facing locomotives specter of automobiles disruption potential. They were afraid that the car will replace them, so they worked hard to convince the government to make strict laws like 1865 Act. This restriction was speed of horseless vehicles. Okay, so not necessarily motor vehicles, horseless. It's kind of interesting. Again, we're coming back to wording of some of the laws, but either way, to 2 miles per hour in towns and 4 miles in country. Okay. I don't know if they had roads at the time, but either way, perhaps there was some type of roads. The act also required 3 drivers for each vehicle. Okay. 2 to travel in the vehicle and 1 to walk ahead carrying the infamous red flag. It was finally replaced in 14 November 1896. Then Locomotives on Highways Act scrapped the flag and raised the speed limit to 14 miles an hour. In Vermont, United States, passed a similar law in 1894 but was cancelled 2 years later. It required a person to walk ahead of steam-powered vehicles compared to perhaps different power sources, right? Which is interesting within itself, how they were to produce the steam, right? Except road rollers to warm people. Trains were exempt from this law, right? I don't know, taking a look at the history, and I don't know if it's a good place, but that's really just an example, right? There was a city, I think it was in the US, and in that city they had just 2 cars, and those cars managed to crash into each other, right? Not to mention who was lobbying to implement this act when it comes to limitations on speed and seat belts, all those kind of things for people who do understand the history, right? Let's progress to challenges of self-driving cars. Fast forward to the 21st century, and we are witnessing another technology revolution. This time with electric self-driving cars, and forefront just Red Flags Act sought to hinder the automotive ascent today's legal and all regulatory landscape. It is current form poses a formidable challenge for automotive vehicles. A law commission has recommended the implementation of stringent regulations before permitting remote driving vehicles on UK roads. While remote driving cars have already been used in warehouses and all farms, right? If that will be issue health and safety, right? So perhaps moving those cars in warehouses and all farms away from densely populated areas where it could potentially hinder entire process of implementing and all, having those cars, right? If they start, those cars would put people in danger, right? So what's that been said? Public roads trial had taken place in Milton, Keynes, and Coventry, where there clearly much work to be done, right? Or they have something I was taking a look at strips, right? So that would be 20-mile, I think it was, not kilometers, 20-mile strips were safe to test some of the software solutions, including self-driving cars, right? History caution us against propping up declining industries with artificial life support for its shift demise of the old that seeds of the new economy and own competitive prowess of technology that allows us to extricate ourselves from, well, fat lamps to the era of electrical illuminations. We find ourselves undergoing a similar transformation where fossil fuels shall relinquish their role in powering automobiles, healing once again in domestic or electricity. I don't know. So that's just an alternative as well as cars. Why we need roads, right? Why we can just perhaps have more of the alternatives to cars overall, right? And entire process unnecessary too slow, perhaps by done on purpose by some of the industries, right? Let the Red Flag Act to be a testament of perils of resistance to change and all clear call for adaptation in the face of technological revolution, right? I haven't read this article previously, but the person who's written this article is kind of interesting points that he's trying to make, and that's his interpretation of Red Flags Act. I think my personal interpretation would be caution, right? That's how I would take it. With everything, in particular technology, right? Caution and and what changes might come to. But either way, the Red Flags Act served as a stark reminder of how industries, when confronted with technology progress, may attempt to lobby for restrictive legislations to protect their interests, often disguising themselves as measures for greater good, balancing innovation and or preservation of public interests necessitates a careful and or vigilant approach to law and all regulations, ensuring that lobbyists do not on duty influence new laws and or welcomes the future of automobiles. I don't know. So I thought I'll understand a little bit more about what Red Flags Act was, and if I have to close this video, I would rather close on different points, right? I would rather take a look at perhaps ingenuity and engineering, and how fast those vehicles were driving at the time, and where things were at the time, and how it progressed to. So if we are taking a look at 2 miles per hour in towns and 4 miles per hour in countryside, so how many seconds from 0 to 100? So always 60 miles, if not kilometers, right? If we're taking a look at miles, right? So how engineering have evolved since then. So I thought I'll touch on that, and if it's 3 seconds, 2.6 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. So I thought, oh, let's touch on that. That's ingenuity and all the evolvement of humankind. Right? Let's touch on that. I think that's important. and some of the laws at the time, including Red Flags Act, how it was hindering and slowing down progress? Perhaps. Well, that's again, it's interpretation and overall history. We can take a look at the history and who did what, I guess. Recorded history. Let's close now. Thanks for watching. See you next one.